What's up, everybody? I'm your host of the Winning Twice podcast, Austin Cheviron here, your coach, your host. I'm here with my buddy, Randy Highsmith. I want to have some fun with you today, Randy, because we got a story that's going to go back, that's actually going to tell the viewers and listeners how this podcast started. So are you good with that?
Oh, I love it. Let's go.
Okay, let's start with when was the first time you met me?
Yeah. I was thinking back yesterday because I couldn't remember which event if it was my first EXPCon or my second. I'm pretty sure it was my first EXPCon. And I was working at EXP University. And at the live events, I love to make these like elaborate camera rigs, to take live video and stuff. And I just remember you walking up to the booth that I was working at, and you just like started asking questions. And I was like, oh man, this guy's super curious. Like, let's go. Right? Like, that's exciting to me. I love curious people. And so I was just naturally drawn to your energy. And I'm pretty sure it was my first EXPCon.
I can remember you at the booth, like clear as day. I can remember you sitting there. I don't know which direction the booth was facing, but I can see you there and I can see the booth.
Yeah. And
I remember it so clear. Now, do you remember my situation when I met you by chance?
It's vaguely, it seemed to me like you had just come to EXP or you were vetting it. It was like right along the line of either you were vetting it or you had just joined. And so that was what struck me the most, was that your questions were all about like, so what is EXP Universities? Like, what does it do? What's available? How can, so I think it was that. I think if I recall right, that was your situation.
Yep. So I had come there, Randy, and some of the stuff you might know, some of the stuff you're going to find out today. But I was at a local independent in the state of Indiana, and I was the trainer and coach of 100 people. I was making my own content, my own training stuff. I was in negotiation with the company for 8 months to buy ownership of the company. And everyone told me they're not going to sell you. And I'm like, no, they told me they're going to sell it to me. And I wanted to buy ownership in it because I wanted to take control of my destiny. So as the driver personality, I'm not really great with other people fucking up my journey.
Sure.
Like, it can be your car, but I'm going to grab the wheel too, just to make sure if you fall asleep or you say, hey, I want to go this way. I'm like, no, we're going this way.
Yeah.
And so I went to grab the wheel just because the direction wasn't negative, but like it wasn't going in the way I wanted to. So I went to grab the wheel. 8 months, 8 days later, they said, we're not selling you the company. And I'm like, oh, okay. Now what you don't know, Randy, no, you do know because you host my podcast. So you heard me say this before. But I was coaching at the time a lady named Madhu Baker, who was a #1 agent in Canada, #3 agent overall for EXP. And she's like, I'm so happy you didn't buy that company. And I'm like, today, Randy, I'm going to tell you today. Thank you, Lord, for not letting me buy that. Oh, thank you, Lord. Like, what do I owe you? I thought you were against me at the time. Now I know you're for me. Thank you, Lord.
Yeah.
It's just, and that's a whole different story. But sure. I called Madhu up and I'm like, hey, Madhu, I'm not buying this company. She's like, oh, thank you. I'm like, what do you mean, thank you? She goes, you got to see this company. Now, was she recruiting me? Somebody could say yes, of course, and I would be the big whale that you'd want to recruit. Sure. But she never told me about this company for 12 months, 8 months. So was she recruiting me? Sure, but she didn't for 8 to 12 months. So what do you call that? And so it was a Saturday night, Randy. And my world's turned upside down at this point.
Right.
I thought everything I knew was true, and none of it was. And so she's like, and now she's more your personality than mine. I'm very direct and to the point and system. You're more like, hey, let's have some fun and let's all get together. And
yeah.
And so she's you. And she's like, you got to come out to Vegas and you got to see this company called EXP Realty. And I'm like, when? She goes, Monday. And it was Saturday night.
Right.
Fuck. I'm like, fuck. I plan shit out a year in advance, Randy. Yeah. Okay, Madhu. Yeah. Well, her personality is like, hey, let's just hop on a plane. We'll go tomorrow morning. I'm like,
I love it.
So I go out there. So the day I met you, my world's turned upside down.
Mm.
I've been coaching and training for 3 months. She's like, instead of coaching and training 100 people, what if you did it to 15,000?
Mm.
And I'm like, okay. So then I go out there, and that's when I met you. And I'm like, you're like, well, I do all the audio video for the university. I'm like, university? Well, that's a lot better term than what I do. Like, I am the university.
Yeah, right. Right.
And so when I saw you, I'm like, it was like a light that just came and shined upon. I'm like, oh, there's a guy here. I like the guy. He's nice and he knows what the hell he's doing.
Yeah. And on the other side, I was like, this guy does not stop asking questions. Like, I love this. Like, let's just keep this party rolling. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of people come up and it's sort of, they would ask questions like, so what can EXP University do for me? You know, like, you're like, it can present options that then you can make a choice for yourself. Like, I don't know. We have training, but your questions weren't like that. It was much more just, inquisitive and how can I plug in and what does this look like? And to your point, I'm also typically drawn to people who, like systems come naturally because it's so unnatural for me. Right. So I'm not only fascinated by it, but I count on it, like, hey, I'm going to play around and I'm going to try to get the most like experience out of this. I'm going to grip it and squeeze it. And you're like, well, that's cool. Like, so when are you going to do that? And for how long? And like, how do, like, how are you going to book that? And how do you know when, and I'm like, okay, let's talk about it. So, it was super great. And I liked you instantly too, obviously. I'm pretty good at that. I'm pretty good at just kind of having an intuitive sense of who I connect with naturally. And you just were definitely one of those people that it was easy to plug in with.
I think that would have been like October 1st, 2019.
Yeah. That sounds right.
I think that would have been the date or very close. Because I think it was like September 29th. I was talking to Madhu. I went back and looked at the calendar one time. So I'm like, hang on, I've been telling the story. Is the story true?
No, you're absolutely right. That's exactly when it was, because I started in September of 2018 and it was like a month before they went to New Orleans. And so I was too new. I didn't end up going. And so it was the first one. It was in Vegas. And that's crazy. It was right after my 1-year anniversary there.
So it's funny. You're like, I remember you're the guy that kept asking me questions. And so I met with some other people from the growth team, let's call it at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Sam Rodriguez was his name.
Yeah.
And then I met with his assistant, Diem. Mm-hmm. And we were in a private room. We went aside. A couple of the people that would have been my sponsors at the time were in there. And I remember talking to Sam. I had a whole list of questions on my piece of paper. And I just said, hey, I just got to get all these answered. And then next thing you know, it was about 6 months later, I run into Sam again. I go, Sam, do you remember me? He goes, do I remember you? He goes, you're the guy that had a whole list of questions. That's what he said to me, Randy. Yeah. He goes, literally, you had a whole notebook of questions you wanted me to answer.
Yeah, you definitely did. You were soaking it up like a sponge. And I was like, okay, you talked a little bit about what you had been doing. So I was like, okay, well, so you're an achiever, right? Like, obviously you're a player in the game, but you're also still this curious. Like, that to me was really a connecting point, where I went, okay, he's going to be a lifelong learner. And that's something that is super important to me. Like, I never want to stop learning. And so the fact that you weren't just asking because you wanted to know what's in it for me, you were like, how can I contribute? How can we be partners here? That was so exciting and so refreshing to me.
Well, it's funny you say that. And about 18 months, I was instructor of the year.
Yeah.
Which was, I remember when they were giving out all the awards, I actually got a little pissed. I'm like, what? I didn't get an award? And like, it was a 7-minute video. Yeah. I have it recorded. And I remember I remember it because it was a poor emotional moment for me.
Yeah.
I wasn't proud. Now I was all by myself. So it wasn't like, and I've never told anybody this. Now everyone can listen to it. But I was like, and you can relate. It's like, fuck, I poured in. I didn't get an award. Yeah. And they went through all the awards and I was like, that sucks. Like, rethink all this giving that I'm doing. And then they said, and we got one last award for the instructor of the year. And I'm like, oh. And then they named my name and I was like,
There it is.
That's why I'm here.
Yeah.
And so help me understand. You're in the audio video field. Is that what you would like? What's your field?
You know, I mean, at EXP, that was, when I joined, there was 11,000 agents. It was we were in this virtual world. It was literally the Wild West. And I knew someone who just was a senior VP in charge of agent development department at the time, is what they were calling it. And she was a family friend. And so she said, "Hey, I've got this thing. I think you'd be awesome for it." But it was just customer service at the time. And literally every day it was just agents coming in going, "Where do I find HR?" Or, how do I get here?
Austin comes in again. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, but one of the things that was being asked about every single day without fail, the majority of the questions started leaning towards, where do I find a recorded video library of the training that's available because they were offering live training in the auditoriums and in the world every week. And it was a full calendar, but nobody could find, you had to be there or you were just out. Right.
Yeah.
And so I went to my boss and I said, "Hey, I've been keeping a tally of all the questions I get asked every day. Overwhelmingly, people are asking where they can find a library. I am pretty sure that I can build one for us. What do you think about that? Like, are you cool if I take my, an hour out of my day every once in a while and I go watch a presenter give and I just record their class and then put the thing in a library?" She was like, "Yeah." So then all of a sudden, EXP has a video library. Now now that became my job. I got moved out of customer service. I got pushed into that. I was attending all these classes and recorded trainings. And then shareholders was set to take place in Orlando. It was going to be my first shareholders.
Yep.
And COVID broke out. And so 60 days before we were going to Orlando, no event, right? And the leadership at the time said, "Nope, we're not going to settle for that. We're going to pivot. We're going to do this event virtually. We're going to offer it for free in the world. We're still going to have the same speakers. We're still going to have everything will be there except for the in-person stuff. We're going to have breakouts. We're going to do all this." And so everybody was like, "Yeah." And they were super excited. And then they came to a small team of us and they went, "Okay, how the hell are we going to do this?" And so I was just super lucky to be in a position where it was like, "Hey, I'm already solving some of these problems for how we present in world, for how we record. I'm sure I could figure out the live stream aspect of it." And I just got lucky enough to be on a team of really amazing, talented people that figured out how to put together a really successful virtual shareholders in 60 days from scratch. And then after that,
which for whoever's listening is damn near impossible.
It was wild.
In my world.
It was wild. It was wild. And I think there was over 15,000 people attended it. It was a really crazy, cool, fun, who does this? Who gets to do this? Where do you ever end up in a situation like that? And so I got to do that. And because of the success of that, I just became known as the guy who could make it happen. We need a podcast. We need a live stream. We need this. We need that. We need something recorded. Randy, find out how we do this.
Okay. So walk me back then before that job. What did you do before that built you up to do that? Because that's just not like, oh, I wake up one day and I can do this stuff. Like what was Randy doing before that? Well,
no, I'm just kidding. I've always been really good at techie stuff, right? Like I've always been good at figuring out how to hook my Nintendo into my VCR and then my VCR to the TV so I could record me playing, back before that even was a thing, right? Now they have all these streaming platforms. And then I got into bands. I'm always just been into learning how to do things and solving puzzles, right? And so I was a musician a lot of years. When I started having my kids, I decided I needed a real job. So I got into title insurance. And that's how I really got into
boring. Boring.
I mean, dude, not only boring, but in California, title insurance is always on a cycle, right? So the market's up, They hire 1 million people. Everybody's getting paid. We're all making money. The market goes down. 80% of those people are laid off. Right. So you're always on a constant work roller coaster. Just going through all of that gave me the real estate chops, but I was like, I'm already too close to that industry. And so I really just did other things that were around that. I started a document recording business. I was a courier for a while doing those kind of things for closure guys. Just all the kind of ancillary stuff around the business. Yeah. And then, but honestly, it really just came down to, I took that job at EXP, which was a tech company, and they really just gave me a little bit of leash to go, hey, go play with these tools as part of your job, because if you get better at it, it's going to make what we do better, and then you'll get better tools, and then it'll make things even better, so like, that's really how it started. I really didn't have a background in it. I didn't know how to do it. I really just thought I could. And that's pretty much how I approach everything. Like, I think I can do anything until I find out I can't,
Well, two things. One, I busted out my old NES about 3 months ago.
Yeah.
Okay. I put a picture out on social to put all my games. Every once in a while, I got to get back into it.
Totally.
And I busted out my Nintendo, and I went to look for I had my red, yellow, white cord, and I thought, well, these don't hook into the TV anymore.
They don't.
And I'm like, I don't even know if I can play. So I figured out I had one cord somewhere from the NES to the Sega to the PlayStation, to the 64. I had one cord that somehow made it work. And it's just funny you say that. It's like my son's like, Dad, I don't think it's going to work. I'm like, no, we're going to make it work.
It's going to happen.
I'm playing Nintendo today. I can tell you that. Yeah. And so I remember one thing you said to me specifically when I met you the first time is you said, I built the library. And I remember that. And the reason I remember that is because I finally am like, oh, I got the guy. I'm like, if this is the guy that can build something, I'm normally the one that has to build it. I have no clue what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And so I remember that moment when you said, I built this library. And I'm like, that's it. And it's funny, it's a simple word sometimes that people say that you can, I can't remember what I talked about yesterday for 9 hours, but I remember that almost that one word you said, Randy, which is funny.
Yeah.
So, okay. So you like tech. So you got into tech. What have you learned about the producing, the audio, the video? Like today, if I were to fast forward, like what have you learned over the last 6 years about all that stuff that you didn't know maybe prior?
So what I learned is that people are far less interested in the quality of the content that they're consuming than they are. As far as production wise goes, it's way more about the quality of the conversation. It's way more about how the information is being relayed, right? Like, especially in the podcast, scene, I record video podcasts, but the reality is that most of the people that I talk to that consume podcasts, they're listening to it in the car. So they're not even looking at the video anyway, right? So that's not the crucial thing. And to me, when I first started, I was like, well, I want to make everything look like a Hollywood movie. Like, what do I have to do to make this all cinematic and make it look, like I want filters and I want, like crazy overlays and I want all this stuff. And I can do all that, right? Like I learned how to do it all. But it's so much extra work where the conversation is really the important part, right? The information being relayed is really the important thing. And so because of that opportunity, I ended up getting to produce every live stream and podcast from everybody from the top leadership down at EXP. So I got to spend time, not just streaming Glenn Sanford, but I got to hang out in the green room with him. We got to talk on a human level. He got to express his concerns. I got to allay some of those and help him feel comfortable. I got to develop what I call the green room experience. And so a huge part of the production for me would be just getting there early. I would have music playing. I would, lighten up the conversation, tell some jokes or whatever, make the guest and the host feel comfortable. And then I instantly saw the quality of the conversation elevate. Right. So I did. Right. Because I developed this kind of mentality. I actually coined the phrase eat, right? Does it elevate all things? So I would go, does this conversation eat? To me, are they elevated? Is there a value being added here? It doesn't matter how good it looks, right? Because these guys that I'm working with, a lot of them are billionaires. They've got $1 billion studios sitting behind them. Maybe they're in a Hollywood studio, who knows? But they all have the same thing in common. They're human beings that want the way that they're presenting themselves to be handled with respect and appropriately. And so the really cool thing was I got an opportunity to know those people on that level, which changed my whole outlook really on production and how I was approaching it.
That's big. That's, as a speaker, one of the things that I've learned is it takes me like 10 minutes to get comfortable a lot of times. When you get up, you walk on stage, your heart's beating 1,000 miles an hour and you just say stupid shit for 10 minutes.
Sure.
Even if it's on your slides,
sure.
It's like, if I can just get myself in the right state and if I can get comfortable and instead of it taking 10 minutes, if it can take 30 seconds.
Right.
Now somebody, we all understand why that's important, but when you only get 30 to 60 minutes to speak, and in 33% to 16 to 33% wasted, not on point.
Right.
That's everything.
Yeah.
I literally had a call with someone today. It's funny. Someone out from the UK, and they said, "Hey, you were my favorite speaker when you went out and spoke." I go, "Oh," I said, "Well," as a speaker, "which one was your least favorite speaker?"
Right.
And she told me, and I said, I'm like, "Well, tell me if I was your favorite, tell me why, and then tell me which one was your least. I'm a student. I'm trying to learn." And she told me the person that was their least favorite. And I said, "It's funny. I actually took notes on them." And I said, I have a note that I was taking when they were speaking. They didn't make anybody laugh until 13 minutes.
Yeah.
And I said, "Why is that important?" Because if I'm not laughing, I'm not engaged. I want to have some fun. I want to, let's get me engaged.
Right.
And so I told the person who was running the conference, who was sitting next to me taking the notes, I said, "Tomorrow, I'm going to get them to laugh right away."
Yeah.
Which is not normally my style, Randy. But I'm going to get them to laugh. I'm going to get them to engage. I told her, I said, "I'm going to get the crowd riled up, ready with me." So the first joke I told was, I said, "Hey, everybody," I said, "I was at dinner last night with a guy named Tony, and I got the sea bass." So okay, me and you, sea bass here in the States, it's like this great white fish. It costs as much as filet. I got sea bass over there. It was horrible. I didn't even want to eat it. And everyone's looking at me like, "Why did you get sea bass?" I'm like, "Well, it's the cheapest thing on the menu." I'm like, this is a great deal. Yeah. This fish looked like shit, Randy. And so the guy next to me makes a joke. He goes, "It probably came out of the canal." I don't even know what he's talking. I know what a canal is. So that next day, before I take a picture, I'm in the canal and I'm like, it looks like a garbage filled canal when I was there.
Yeah.
So I told the joke about the canal and everybody starts to laugh. And I'm like, I got him within 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And then I started.
I think that's another aspect of what I picked up and have learned about you over the course of our relationship is you're not the guy coming out there to tell jokes or to try to be a clown in the beginning, even for that engagement, but you're capable of seeing the value in something that you don't necessarily place value in yourself. Right. And that's I think that's so important when you're trying to communicate with people, being able to find that common ground where now they don't feel like you're lecturing them. They feel like you're just having a conversation with them.
So I'm the third speaker. This is really, you're on to something really good. I'm the third speaker out of 4. I'm on day 2. So I'm 11 to 12 right before lunch. And over in the UK at lunch, they start drinking if they didn't at breakfast.
Sure.
I didn't know that. Okay. didn't know that. But now I do. So I'm the third speaker. Well, the first speaker was dynamite, but he kind of he was teaching them. He wasn't I don't want to say he wasn't engaging. His presentation was more like, I'm going to teach you how to do this. The second presenter just spoke at you, and it was like, And so I told the lady, I said, I'm going to pivot what I'm doing. No one's engaged with these people.
Yeah.
And I'm going to get them talking and laughing and telling. I'm going to get them all going.
It's perfect.
And so I completely pivoted my keynote, which is dangerous. Dangerous. I completely pivoted.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm going to get the whole group going. So I tell the joke to start with, and then I start asking questions and letting them all talk.
Yeah.
And there's probably 400 people in the room. Well, you know the problem with that? I couldn't understand them. They all have an accent, and I'm asking questions. I'm like, I can't get it. What did you say?
Yeah.
It's one thing when you're on Zoom and I can read your lips with my clients over there, but when you got a whole room of them and half of them are hung over because they were out till 3 a.m. last night.
Right.
I'm like, damn it. I shouldn't ask questions to the group.
That's
and then there was another moment, and these are all risky things, Randy.
Sure.
This is speaking Austin's way. And so I asked questions about, they call their schedule diary out there.
Mm-hmm.
They call it diary. So I'm speaking their dialect. And I said, what's something as a CEO of your company that you should have in your diary? And I let them all say their stuff out loud. And like anytime I could understand it, I would say it.
Yeah.
I couldn't understand 2/3 of what they were saying. And then one guy in the front row down in my bottom front, who was one of on a panel before me. So he was very important, very popular. He said financials. And I'm like, good job. And everyone's like, oh, yeah, Mr. Teacher's Pet down here saying financials. No one else said financials.
Sure.
And so then I asked him the question. I said, what did I say after? I said, good job, Alex. And then I went to, it's in your diary, right? He goes, yeah. He goes, I do it the first week of every month. And then I took one more question, because so far he's the teacher's pet. I go, if I grabbed your phone right now, could I see it? He goes, well, it's not in there. And then I go to everybody. I go, hey, everybody, do you think he's consistent if it's not in his diary, but he says he does it? And they're all like, oh, my God.
You just bailed on the teacher's pet.
I just shit all over him. And I didn't mean to, but you could hear the whole crowd go, oh, my God, he just did that. And what happened is because I watched the other speakers, I knew that I needed to get engaged with them.
Yeah.
And so I did that through all of them.
Yeah.
And it was a risky thing to pull off. If it wouldn't have worked, I don't know how much it would have cost me. But my line after I was done speaking was an hour and a half long to sign book, shake hands. It was so long, the people running the conference came to me and goes, hey, it's starting back up. I always speak right before lunch. That way I can use the lunch break, build in to talk to everybody, sign books, give away stuff. Yeah. And she goes, hey, we're starting. And she goes, you still got a line? I go, well, what do you want to do? She goes, well, I think we got to stop it. I go, how about you go in and I'll just stay here? Right. And then they can do whatever they want.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know how we got there, Randy, but I
love
being
it.
agile.
I love it because and agility is a great word, right? And I think that's, to your point, you're a good speaker, right? But I think one of the crucial elements is you also have to be a really good listener, and not just listening with your ears, but you were able to look out and watch other people do it and go, okay, where is this not connecting, right? Where are we having the problem? And then pivot, even possibly to your detriment at the last possible minute. But you know, okay, if I just follow the playbook that everybody's doing, this will be the result, and it's not that great, right? If I make a move, it might be risky, but it might also make me the standout, so I appreciate that you're someone who's willing to take those risks, because I think those make really interesting people.
Yeah. Yeah, it was fun, buddy. I wish you could have been sitting next to me when we were literally like at the end of day one. I'm like, I think I'm going to pivot this.
Yeah.
And the lady who's running the conference goes, what does that mean? I go, you'll see.
So good.
And then, I don't drink the night before. I go to bed early. Everyone was trying to get me to stay out late. And I'm like, I gotta speak tomorrow. They're like, oh, we don't care. And I'm like, the people that paid me do.
Yeah.
And other 400 people here. So, sometimes you got to take risk. I could see a need in the crowd.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I first met you, you didn't know it, but you filled a need in my mind, which is, hey, if I do this, I want to go help more people. And this guy can help me do that. You didn't offer it necessarily. You didn't even know who I was.
Right.
But I'm like, okay, I could see a need. I could see a need here, and I'm willing to take a risk to fill it. You remember Corey Williams, who we had on the podcast earlier?
Yeah, absolutely.
So Corey, he was the keynote speaker at an event. And Corey's like 6'2", 6'3". I'm 5'9" on a good day.
Right.
He could stomp on my head. And when Corey got done, I said, do you mind if I give you some feedback? And I thought, he's going to say yes or no. If he says no, I just move on. If he says yes, then I give him the feedback, and then he stomps on me or he respects me. It's one or the other. But I was like, screw it. So I gave him the feedback, and now he's a great friend of mine.
He's such a gentle giant too. Just such a really beautiful guy. Like you love to just hear him talk. Yeah, I think he's a really good dude. It was fun producing that session for sure.
Yeah. So I guess what I'm hearing here, and just like what you did, listen to what the world has out there, find a need and go fill it. And by the way, you're going to screw up more times than you get it right.
Yeah.
But you did the same thing. I've done it. And that's why we're here today. So
I think too, there's we share, similar philosophies. They're aimed at slightly different subjects, but it's definitely a shared philosophy. If anybody hasn't read The Money Puzzle, and the fact that I've read it, right? I've read it once. I need to really read it again because money conversations do this thing to my brain where it just starts shutting off. I'm like, God.
Yeah, well, I talk about that in the book.
Yeah. And it's coming back. That's why I say I need to read it again. But the gist of it, that if you take money out of it and you take what I'm talking about out of it, the methodology is the same, right? We're both trying to gather information. That information now raises our awareness. That awareness presents options. And hopefully it presents options that you weren't aware of before, or that, that are better than the options that you've been choosing, right? That's where my philosophy stops. I don't get super prescriptive after that because I can't control the choice you make with the options that you have, right? I can't, I have no effect on that. I can love you. I can give you good advice, whatever. But ultimately, you're going to go home and you're going to choose the option you're going to choose. Yeah. But I think in that, that's sort of also why I relate so much to what you do, is because the essence of it is you care, right? You want to see people's lives better, even if the only people that you wanted to see better was your kids' lives. That would be enough for me. But the fact that you also take it out there and you're a real straight shooter, which is one of my favorite personality types. I love people that just tell it like it is. I'm like, make it painful or keep it, as far as I'm concerned, do not sugarcoat it. Don't feed me horseshit. Don't tell me something to try to make me feel good. If you don't like something, say it, so I love that with you, I get to just come in and I go, you know what, this is kind of fucked up and I don't like it. Can we and then you're like, you know what? I think it's fucked up too. Like, yeah, let's get rid of that and figure something else out. That's really just a comfortable place for me in my life to have somebody who I can just have that kind of,
you always know where I stand.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the only times I don't tell people what I'm thinking is when I'm still processing my thoughts.
Yeah.
Once I've come to that conclusion, you're getting a call in about 30 seconds. And then we're going to go from there. We're just going to figure it out. And I've already made,
I think why I love it so much is because if I have to guess, I'm going to guess dark, right? Like I'm going to assume the worst instead of the best, or right off the bat. Now, luckily I've developed, systems for myself to kind of ease my way out of the shadows quickly. But if you don't talk to me, or if you're ambiguous, or if you're being subtle, or you don't want to say something directly, I'm going to go to the dark place immediately. Right.
Yeah,
So,
well, it's natural, Randy. My cousin, Nate Cheviron, some of you guys know Nate. He was on podcast episode 1. If you haven't listened to 1, go listen to 1 and
go
get
listen
to this
to one.
point.
Love that guy.
So Nate taught me, he said, Austin, and when communication goes silent, negativity follows. So when in any communication, text messages, phone calls, negotiations, anything, any communication goes silent, your subconscious, conscious mind will go negative.
Yeah.
And that's where now we got to work from there. So, I mean, one of my favorite things when I'd call my clients, I'd call them up and say, hey, I don't have an update today.
Yeah, I just want to talk to you.
Yeah, why are you calling? Oh, I just want to let you know I don't have an update. They're like, well, you could have just not called me. No, because if I don't call you, you think something bad's happening.
Yeah.
So I am an over communicator.
Yeah.
I will and I give people warnings. Hey, I over communicate. Why? Because I like to be over communicated with too. It's not annoying. It's necessary.
Yeah. No, 100%.
So, and then when people don't communicate, it's like, you're childish. You're juvenile. I don't like you. What's wrong with you?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So, okay, well, let's pivot to this, Randy.
Sure.
For the listeners and watchers who don't realize this yet, you're the producer of the Winning Twice podcast.
I am. I have the honor and privilege of producing this show.
And I want to tell, if they haven't listened to an earlier episode, here's how this all happened. We were talking actually in the green room before this, and how this happened was I've had a lot of people audit my business, Randy, and they say, hey, you don't have like a bottom of the funnel, or they would call it the top of the funnel, where somebody gets something for free. You know, in the coaching world, it's like, what do you give them for free to hook? What do you sell them for $7 to hook? And I'm like, if they don't pay me $40,000 a year, I'm good. Like, I don't need a $7 hook to get them to 40. I just go straight to 40 to 50 to 100. I'm like, I'm good.
Yeah.
But I knew if I wanted to truly impact people, that I needed to get more people in, not only the people who can't afford it, but for the people who are unsure.
Yeah.
And so at the end of last year, I made a whole list of things that I could do for free. Social media was part of it. And I'm not a social media guy. I go live on a private island by myself and not tell anybody and be perfectly fine with that.
Yeah.
But I knew if I wanted to truly impact, I needed a top of the funnel. So the podcast was on the list, and I'm like, God, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm doing. I'm going to fail. I don't want to talk to people I don't want to talk to. And then you called me up and you said, hey, Austin, would you mind if I produce your podcast? I'm going to start this. And I'm like, that becomes a hell yes real quick, Randy.
Yeah.
1, I get to hang out with you.
Yeah.
2, you've done stuff like this for me for the last 5 years. And so me and you went on this journey.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, it's been fun, my friend. I want to say thank you.
I'm glad. It's been fun for me too.
You get to listen to all my private conversations. Now, I don't know what you're doing when you go off screen. You're over in your own little world, but I'm sure you hear what I'm talking about. And
I'm in it. It's so funny that you said that, because I remember there was a big shakeup in the real estate world, and while I was still at EXP, and so there was all these high profile interviews taking place, and Leo Pareja was rising up and starting to have these high profile conversations on streams and things. And so because that was fell under my umbrella, I would end up sitting there producing these. And I just remember Leo one time stopping, and they were talking about, like, literally complete insight, like even above my head, inside baseball on the industry and the markets and stuff. And Leo stops mid conversation talking to this really high end exec, and he looks at me and he goes, man, Randy, you get to hear the best information. I was like, dude, I know everything. Everyone talks about everything in these sessions. And it's super, again, I couldn't be more grateful for the path that, I ended up on. I love conversations so much. I love interacting with people so much. So me calling you to say, hey, I've got this thing together, it really was for me on the other end. It was the same thing. How can I hang out with Austin more? How can I get him out there doing his thing? Because you have a also very specific idea about how important it is to present yourself and, like build business versus maintain versus just, like you said, just checking in with clients, whatever. So the fact that you were so excited to do it, it was interesting too for me because I've seen you do coaching and I've seen you speak. But what a lot of people don't realize is that podcasting is like a completely different thing, right? Making a video intentionally, sitting there talking to a camera or even a picture of someone else on a screen. A lot of people have a hard time finding their voice there, and they end up doing this sort of performative version of what they do. So, like we're sitting in the green room and you're like, yeah, so today I want to talk about, the money puzzle and I got another book coming out, and blah, blah, blah. And then you get on and you're like, hey, everybody, welcome to Winning Twice, blah. And I was like, there's a chance that was going to happen, like there's always a chance. But your authenticity, it always comes through. It's such a pleasure for me to even listen back. Like I've had sessions where I've had to go edit things. And I'm like, man, I got to listen to that whole thing again, maybe twice. But with your stuff, it's like, oh, what did I miss the first time? Right. I get to take another dip in that pool and see, what I can pull. And so, I'm super grateful and just excited about this journey, about your podcast, about my podcast, about all the work that's being done and the opportunities that it provides and affords. Like I'm just in a really grateful space for that.
Well, let's, for our listeners and viewers who haven't listened to every podcast yet, which is probably 90+% of them.
Yeah.
Give them what is like the common theme that you've got, because you've been there for every one of them. What's the common theme that comes out of my mouth and out of my head for all these?
Yeah. There's been a couple of really big themes that have stuck with me a lot. The first one is everyone that you talk to talks about your run rest schedule. Right. And I think it's a testament to how brilliant it is and how impacting it can be on people's schedules. Yeah, I've even started implementing some of it, I can't do the full week, but I've got a day here, I've got 2 days here. And it makes a huge, huge difference. And so seeing the impact of people that not only have heard about but they're also doing it and the impacts it's had on their business, just amazing concept. I love that the podcast is called Winning Twice, because everybody's talking about how to win in business, right? But not everybody's talking about how you win in life. Specifically, what's the space between those two things, right? And it's a prevalent topic, making sure you maintain that balance, but also that you have your priorities in order. That's another thing that the money puzzle touches on, right? Is like thinking about those things before they become something, so that you have a plan when they arrive. And, so I think those are a couple of the major themes that I see. And also, running your business the way that is natural for you instead of just emulating someone else's way of doing it that might be completely inappropriate for you. That works perfectly for them. I've seen a lot of coaching. I mean, I've recorded hundreds of hours of people coaching at a top level. And so I've seen the differences in the programs and what's being offered. You really have your value structure in place, and that ends up being sort of the filter that lays over all the conversations. And so it never gets to wander outside of that space. It's always, how do we bring it back to, okay, great, you're making a ton of money, but how's your relationship with your wife? What do your kids think about you? What is your church community or your softball league or your golf team, whatever, like how is your relationships? How's the communication in your life? And so, that naturally is so exciting to me that even though there's business and there's money and there's systems, which aren't naturally exciting to me, I love the conversations, and I think that I think people should listen to every episode. There's something unique and different about every one of these stories that are being told.
Yeah, it's funny. With the most respect that I can say this, I learned the hard way that a lot of these people that I looked up to that were speaking on stages, these coaches, once I got to know them at a personal level, which everything I do is at a personal level to a certain extent.
Yeah.
They were a disaster.
Yeah.
I mean, like not only a disaster, it was fake, Randy.
Yeah.
It was fake. It wasn't real. It wasn't what I wanted for me. And so it's like somebody has a great business. And then I go, well, what's your financials look like? Oh, I went bankrupt last year. It's like, oh, okay. Well, then I really don't care about your business. If you don't, and well, what's your family look like? Oh, that's not good either. It's like, so what I've realized and what I appreciate is, and I think I became the product of it, is I don't just want to win once in one field. I want to win twice, 2 times, 3 times. I want to win in my spiritual life, in my family, in my personal life, in my business, in my financials. But I'm also aware enough to know that it's hard to be, it might be damn near impossible to be winning in all of them all at once.
Sure.
Something's always like needing your attention and something you got to let go for a little bit so you can give it more attention. Yeah. And the game is to get like all 5 of these dials like in balance, not balance, but in balance and balancing, so not one of them causes a bigger issue in your life and then pulls you aside.
So big, so massive, you know. But everybody talks about balance, right? But they don't talk about, okay, once you've got everything balanced, now what happens if the wind blows? What happens if it rains? You know, like what, you know, how are you ready to maintain the balance, or did you just, you know, now, because to your point, I think that's probably what happens is you figure out, oh, I found a cash cow that I'm able to make money off of. I don't even have to practice it. As long as someone understands and, you know, views it as important, they'll pay for it. But the integrity that you have in it and the fallback position for you, you know, like I said, I respect it in it, and I appreciate it enough that I want to be involved in it, you know?
Yeah. Thank you. My, one of my clients, Jim O'Donnell, told me once, and he was probably one of the wisest guys that I met. He said, Austin, life's balance is like balancing on a sword. You're always going one way or another. You're never just here. You're always doing this. And it's a balancing act. You're never balanced. It's always balancing. Yeah. And when he said that, it helped me become aware. It's like, once something's in balance, something else is going to be out of balance.
Totally.
And then understanding the priorities in the right order, faith, well, Chris Lewithy would teach faith, fitness, family, finance.
Okay.
And when you can get the order right, and sometimes your finance has to go above your family. It's like, hey, honey, I got to go out here and speak because we need the money and I need the opportunity to go make the money so I can come back and be with you guys.
Yeah.
But there's a priority and there's always balancing. And then there's always like, at the end of the day, I will come back to the status quo that my faith is always more important than my finances.
Yeah.
But so yeah, it's a fun journey. It's a tough journey, but it's worth it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's not done as much as I would like to see in the world. So I'm out there teaching it.
Yeah.
And I don't know if people, you know, the people that you think are doing it, once you get to know them, normally aren't. They're just selling you something.
What's the saying, right? Never meet your heroes, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I got some of those, man. I wrote the check, $30,000-$40,000 I sent out to go meet my heroes. And I'm like,
yeah,
oh, this is the ugliest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And you just figure it out. But, you know, we all got problems. Like no one's going to be perfect. We all going to have difficulties. Talking about difficulties, let's tell me about your podcast here.
Yeah. So my podcast is called Sweeter After Difficulty. It's a literal translation of a Latin phrase, dulcius ex asperus, which is my Scottish family clan motto, right? So it's literally the motto they embrace as a family. The symbolism is there's a Scottish thistle with a bee flying around it. The bee is the symbol of doing the hard work and toiling. And then on the other side of that hard work, you get honey, right? So sweeter after the difficulty. And, I had a lot of difficulty, in my life coming up. I went through a lot of really hard things. I went through some things that I thought were going to break me. I went through some things that did break me on some level. And coming through it on the other side, I experienced some of the most massive personal transformation I couldn't even imagine, in my life. And instead of being bitter about those trials and hardships, I decided to embrace them as the catalyst for change. And so the idea behind the podcast is I want to have conversations with people who have gone through something, which is, by the way, everybody out there has gone through something, right? But that has that idea that on the other side of it, like they're not bitter about the hardship, right? They've learned to be better on the other side of that. And so, we do a weekly show, and it really is focused on the idea of honest conversations. The overarching body of work that I encompass is honest conversations, better lives, right?
Yeah.
And it's not honest conversation, better life. It's honest conversations, right? I believe that the first most important conversation is with yourself, right? That's the one that you should be falling back to. And then from there, it builds out. Then you can have more honest conversations with other people. And what people don't understand, and this ties back into that common philosophy we have, is that if you can sit down at a table with someone or across the table with an empty chair, curious about why they're there, curious about what they have to say, and you can process what they have to say as information, that raises your awareness. Right? That gives you more options. Awareness creates options. So to me, the idea of the podcast was, how do I practice having conversations and get better at asking questions with people that I also could learn something from, that went through maybe something like you would describe it, or both of our situations, as difficulty, but clearly that's not the same difficulty I went through. Like, holy Lord, so that's the podcast. It's really just conversations, honest conversations, better questions, trying to find out as much as I can and present those stories to people for a little bit of inspiration, a little bit of, there's other people out there that have gone through something like that. That's really the whole thing. And one of the other things that you say all the time is, if I wouldn't do it for free, I wouldn't do it for a fee. That's like one of your common things I hear you say all the time.
Yeah.
And I will absolutely do Sweeter After Difficulty for free, as long as people will talk to me. I'll do it forever.
Well, for anybody listening, if you want to hear about my difficulty, I'm sure I don't have to twist Randy's arm to put a link into the podcast me and Randy did together, in which I ripped the Band-Aid off, peeled the onion back, and talked about some of my difficulty some of you maybe have heard. Most of you probably haven't. So if you've enjoyed this time, go check out me and Randy's time. Scroll down, click. I don't know how the heck you need to do it, but Randy will get it in there. And you can invest a little more time and hang out with me and Randy. But for today, that's our time here today. We're at our time, Randy. So always good hanging out with you, buddy. I'm glad we got you in front of the cameras compared to behind them. So thank you, my friend.
Well, thanks for having me, man. And like I said, I hope I would continue to do this as long as you'll have me as well. So let's keep it going.
Thank you. See you, everybody. Thanks for listening to this episode of Winning Twice. Each week, we drop a new episode with business owners, entrepreneurs, and high performers. We talk about life, vision, success, failure, and what it really takes to win professionally and personally. If you want to listen to more episodes, visit my website, austinchevron.com. Thanks again for being here, and I'll see you on the next episode of Winning Twice.